Anybody has any questions or anything about the minutes? You received the minutes before you came tonight, the minutes from the April 30th meeting. I hope you've had an opportunity to review those. Do I hear a motion to either be amended somehow or be approved as submitted? Thank you. I have a motion to approve as submitted. Is there a second? Thank you. I have a second. Any discussion on the motion to approve the minutes from April 30th? Hearing none, assuming you're ready to vote, all in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, please signify by saying no. The ayes have it, and the minutes are then adopted. And to set up the skip citizens period and move along for a moment, does anybody have any old business to be considered tonight? Hearing none, then I'll move along with that, and I'm going to turn to the county and ask the county spokesman. Danny's not here tonight. I'm not sure who's going to be speaking, but we'll hear from Witt County this time.
Yeah, I think it's me.
Looking for the microphone, Gary.
Okay. Actually, Witt County has nothing to report at this time.
You did that very well.
Well, thank you. I practiced.
You think you've been in a pulpit a time or two, wouldn't you? Thank you. And then next we'll turn to the town rural retreat. Is there anything to report from the town rural retreat?
What if we do this in a shortened version?
However you'd like to do it would be fine.
There's a little handout. I don't know how far they make that, but there's our phase 7 for the sidewalk. T21 is moving right along once again. We once again chose to participate in a downtown revitalization planning grant. That's going forward. And the next business has been heard about a lot, and still a lot of people don't know that the Brewer Creek Depot is now going to be refinished and all this kind of stuff. It belongs to the Brewer Creek Depot Foundation, and there's been a lot of energy in the town of Brewer Creek going toward rebuilding this old facility. Like I said, it's out of private hands and is in a public trust. So we're really pleased with that. It came with a lot of teeth pulling and shin kicking and all that as it went along. We finally made it. We also have some improvements, in our waste treatment plant. And in collaboration with Smith and Witt counties, we're working on plans to develop the Staley Spring. Smith County is not as lucky as Witt County with the amount of water that they have. They've dug wells and spent money and couldn't use the water, so we're going to try to see if we can work some way that they can have water on a more timely basis. The Brewer Creek Veterans Day Parade is scheduled for November the 11th, and the Brewer Creek Christmas Concert is being scheduled for December the 15th at 7 p.m. at Brewer Creek High School. With that, Mr. Mayor, I can see the mic back.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. You all have been busy too. Anything else then from Rural Trade? Hearing none, we'll move to the town of Withville. We have 4 items to update you on this evening. The first one is that anybody that's been downtown Withville in the last several months, a couple of months anyway, has noticed that we're installing a 20-inch water line. It's the final segment to connect the town of Withville's water treatment facilities with the New River Regional Water Authority's facilities. To date, DLB Construction, the contractor on the pipeline project, has installed approximately 14,800 feet of 20-inch ductile iron water pipe. That's about 90% of all the water lines now having been installed. The 20-inch water lines have been installed along Main Street up to 6th Street, and DLB will continue to work on connections at the street intersections and the service connections for customers from 11th Street to 4th Street. The intersection work between 5th Street all the way west to 6th Street will be done at night according to the contract provisions. The main line in the downtown area has now been paved. There's one block that needs a few more feet, maybe a few yards to be finished in the paving. The contract has a projected completion date, final completion date, February the 9th of 2013. That's for everything. As a part of this project, we also had the 2 above-ground storage tanks on Pine Ridge refurbished and repainted. Eastern Tank Company was the contractor on that project, and they completed the work now on both of the tanks, and both lines are tested, approved, and back in service, and and online at the present time. We are anxious to complete all these projects. We know it's been an inconvenience to the downtown folks, but it's a very important component of providing water to Whitfield and Wood County for the future. It will enable us to turn the valve the way either way, go from the New River to the New River. So it's a very important project. We'd also like to remind you, because most of you have seen it, that we've been very fortunate with our tourism efforts. Tourism contributes to the local economy every day. We have thousands of travelers that come to visit our attractions, eat in restaurants, stay in the motels and the other accommodations we have, buy fuel, shop in the stores, national chain restaurants and so forth, local shops we've got. And that puts a very positive impact in the town in terms of dollars to translate into business revenue, spendable income, and jobs. Governor McDonald just recently announced the economic impact figures for calendar year 2011. And that report showed Whitfield and Wood County is having the highest percentage of increase in revenue of all of Southwest Virginia. In fact, it's the highest in the state, 11.4% increase. In terms of sheer dollars, that represents $121,321,171 spent by the travelers in Wood County, this community, in calendar year 2011. For comparison purposes, in 2010, that was $108,860,141. And our revenue sources, so to put in the pocketbooks of our citizens, that results in almost $4 million in local revenue, local tax revenues. More and more travelers every year are finding the Whitfield Wood County area to be a great place to visit, spend a long weekend or a mini vacation. We used to market and talk about our area as being a stopover because the interstates 81 and 77. Now we're marketing as a destination for families, couples, group tours that we're marketing very heavily in premier meeting and conference location. And we believe that those efforts are reaping dividends for us. It proves that tourism is a strong, stable component of the local economy. And we note with gratitude that this year the Wood County Board of Supervisors has agreed to contribute $12,000 towards the tourist information brochures that we're disseminating through our Convention Visitors Bureau. And hopefully we'll continue to see tourism growth during calendar year 2013. I'd also like to publicly announce and thank some improvements that were made by the Boy Scouts, specifically Eagle Scout Clayton Wright of Troop 60 for our Crystal Springs recreation area. Clayton did his Eagle project by constructing 6 benches in the Crystal Springs area. There are 2 along the Woodpecker Run Trail, 2 on the Waterline Trail, and 2 on the trailhead near the parking lot area. Lowe's agreed to sell the materials to the town of Whitfield at cost for each of these projects, and Troop 60 Scoutmaster Don Spiller and Tony Duncan, who oversees the town's property, coordinated all the work. It's also noteworthy that we've had 2 previous Eagle Scouts that assisted the town with improvements in Crystal Springs. In the fall of 2010, Jonathan Stoker with Troop 197 organized the volunteers and coordinated work to clean up the area of brush and debris of the 3 picnic areas, and in building and placing the picnic tables and fire rings into the picnic areas. And that same year, Aaron Foster did his Eagle project also for Troop 197 to build the 2 rain shelters that are located along the Crystal Springs Loop Trail. And we're grateful to have all that work of these young men and encourage everybody to visit our Crystal Springs recreation area. Our visitors there continue to increase, and we're noticing an awful lot of use, and we're really happy about that. Another item that we gratefully want to report, as everybody is aware because of lots of regulatory issues and some budgetary constraints, this past year the town of Whitfield did not have a fireworks display for the 4th of July. Next year the County Board of Supervisors is also unable to conduct fireworks at Rural Retreat Lake because of the regulations imposed by the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries. We have met with representatives from the Board of Supervisors and agreed that both governing bodies will cooperatively sponsor fireworks for 4th of July in 2013. Because of the new regulations and where they can be displayed, it looks like at this point the only practical location in the town limits will be here at the Whitfield Community College grounds. We're working on that. In any event, we have additional information to these firework activities as the time approaches to get some word out to let folks know. But we very much appreciate the county's effort to cooperate with the town to sponsor the event. We have one request that we'd like to consider, and talking with, I guess the managers have talked, and a couple of elected officials have talked, in trying to look at the new consolidated dispatching center. We have a proposed agreement in our hands with both towns and the county to consolidate the 911 center. Most of that equipment has already been purchased. The office space is nearly completed, and we need to get the memorandum of understanding finalized, and that outlines the operational and budgetary issues associated with this consolidated effort. The town of Whitfield has some questions with regard to that memorandum of understanding as it's presently drafted. I think this is the second draft that we've looked at and had an opportunity to review. We think it would be helpful for the county board of supervisors, Rural Retreat Town Council, and the town of Whitfield Town Council to appoint at least one, maybe two, representatives on the committee that could meet, develop the language and the document we can all agree to and get it done. And obviously, the sooner we can get a committee up and running and tackle this project, better off everybody's going to be, because we need to get the memorandum of understanding in place, because we hope to be in that center before too terribly long. So we would simply request that we appoint a committee of ever how many members you think, but we thought at least one from each of the three jurisdictions so that we can review it. And I'd like to have some feedback if you all think that's a good idea or bad idea, or you want to talk about it in your meetings. Because it's a joint project, we've all got to get to the same place. Any feedback from the county or from Rural Retreat on whether you all think that'd be worthwhile? Need to wait and think about it. Watch the spot for future developments. And then to follow Tim's lead from Rural Retreat, I'll remind you that we also have our Veterans Day ceremony here in the meeting center on November the 11th at 1:30, that Sunday afternoon at 1:30. So we encourage everybody to attend that. And unless somebody else from town of Whitfield's got something that I missed, I think that concludes our report. Is there anything additional? Hearing none then, I'll go back to our citizens' time, and Dr. Catherine, I will start with you. We're certainly glad to have you here. Appreciate your coming to make the presentation.
Thank you for letting me speak to you tonight. It's always a pleasure to talk about the foundation and all the things we're doing. I do have a couple of board members here tonight. I have Dr. Alan Hawthorne, who's our treasurer, and Stephen Baer, who's our vice chair. So they can always help me answer questions if you have any. This is a summary of all the grants that we have awarded between 2007 and 2011. And we started the foundation in 2005, started the grants in 2006, and this is a snapshot in time that will look at the grants during this time around our funding priorities, which are health, education, and welfare. Okay, Justin, where do I go? Thank you. The first thing I will do, thank you. I'm not used to all these high-tech things. The first thing we'll look at is disbursement by type, and that's about over $10 million. And this is the total funding for health, education, and welfare. Health is 56%, education is 23%, health and education 14%, welfare 2%, health and welfare 3%, and education and welfare 2%. Now, the Attorney General's office, as you may remember, said that we're supposed to fund mainly health. So we put everything in health that we can. And that does show the three priority areas that we fund. These are the health organizations that received over $100,000. Whitfield Community Center, this building, after we took over, got $1.5 million. And I understand there was some more funding before the Air Foundation took over. Brock Hughes Free Clinic, 1.2 million. With county emergency services, 659,000, almost 700,000. Bland Medical Clinic, $500,000. The WCC Walking Trail, $400,000. Mount Rogers Health District, the Fit for Life, and Fit for Life has now been transferred to the town, so that's part of that, and that's $319,000. And Bland Ministry Center Dental Clinic, $303,000. Now that funds a locum tenens dentist, and they provide services for people who have no dental care. That's a real important thing that we're doing in this area, and it's going to be expanded for next year. People who have no dentists, and you know that what a problem that is in this area. Mount Rogers Health District, $222,000, and the town of Westfield Parks and Rec, $155,000, and that includes our wonderful Crystal Springs Trail. These are the education organizations receiving major grants. WCC, $1.4 million. A lot of that is in the educational part for teaching. The nursing program has received a lot of funding for that. Our scholarship program, as you all know, $1.2 million, and that is the one that provides scholarships for every kid who graduates in the two counties for 5 semesters here at WCC. The Public School Foundation for Excellence, $705,000, and they do classroom grants, summer enrichment programs for the school kids. And then the Westfield Training School Cultural Center, $167,000, and that is one of our showcase programs. They do screening programs for everybody. They had an amazing number of people over there getting shots on Friday when I was over there to get a free flu shot. These are the welfare organizations receiving major grants. The Family Resource Center, Crossroads, one of the major things that we do with them is provide an MSW who works with abused children and their families. Hope Ministry Center, $156,000. One point they were involved in the farmers market, and they also provide bookkeeping services for a lot of the nonprofits. And some of you will know that some of our nonprofits need a lot of help in that area. And Mountain Community Action Program, $135,000. This supplements some of the things they do. And one of the neat things they do for us is provide transportation and emergency dental services. They have a decision tree, which is a really cool thing that nonprofits helped us develop. And if somebody doesn't have transportation to go somewhere for medical treatment, they can call that number, and if you don't have any other way, if you're not a senior, you can't get senior services, or if you don't have insurance, they will help you get to UVA for medical treatment. We found out in that scenario that District 3 was taking people to Winston-Salem, but that wasn't where the cancer patients needed to go, so we provided some training and some help with that program. With County United Way, $100,000, and we matched their grant programs. If you have any questions for any of this, please stop me. The next one is population served, and as you can see, between 2007 and 2010, over 10,000 individuals were served annually. You can explain the 2009 data with over 50,000 participants by the fact that many individuals may have participated in more than one grant activity. The decrease in 2010 and 11 just means that all that data is not in yet. This is kind of a running thing, and they will finish those grants. And the totals will increase as those grants are complete. Lines by gender, 53% female and 47% male. Lines by age, 46% were 0 to 18, 17% were 19 to 40, 30% were 41 to 64, and 7% were over 65. Now this to me looks like a gap in services that we need to take a look at our services to seniors. So the board will be looking at this data, and we put major emphasis on this data to get it out to the community so that we can look at it and see if there really are funding gaps and how we can do a better job of meeting their needs. Lines by race. The race of individuals served mirrors the population breakdown of Witham Bland counties. 94% white, 4% black or African American, and 1% Hispanics. Lines by insurance status. One of our main priorities is serving the underinsured or the uninsured. And since a high priority is that, those people who can't afford basic health care, this chart demonstrates that 44% of the persons served through our grants were uninsured or underinsured, and that 12% were on Medicaid or famous for children. WCCC scholarships, which is one of our favorite programs, of course. At this point, 603 students have been enrolled since 2007. Just they got at least part of their funding paid by the foundation. 163 graduated between that time. They performed over 15,000 hours of community service. You know, one of their criteria is they have to give back 40 hours of community service during the time they're here. At least 12 went on to four-year schools. At least 7% were enrolled in Witham Bland region. And through this summer, we had spent over $1.4 million in this program. Now, we're trying to capture more of their data because we want them to track these kids later than the first couple of years. So we're working with them on doing that. It's hard to capture, but I also know that Chef captures a lot of data for the state, so we're hoping to get more data.
Okay. If I may, you say that 163, no, so 603 students received all or part tuition. At what point would they only receive part?
Our scholarship is based on financial aid and all scholarships. So we leverage our money so that we use all the federal money first, all the state, local, and scholarship money that they get. Then any other balance, we pay. So it's leveraging the money. And as you all know, we like to leverage that money because we leverage with a lot of your programs and match a lot of the programs. Now, this slide changed as of last week. We now have awarded $14.6 million as of last Thursday night. An astounding number for 35,000 residents in the two counties. We're required by the IRS to give away 5% of the balance at the end of each fiscal year. So every September 30th, which is the end of our year, we have to give back 5% of that. Somebody, Drew asked me the other night, well, are we going out of business? No, we're not going out of business. When we first started in June 2005, we had about $47 million. As of June the 30th, 2012, we had about $47 million after awarding $15 million. I'll be happy to answer questions. We appreciate partnering with you on so many things. In fact, I check your mailboxes in the morning because there's a lot of grant letters out there. I almost brought them tonight, and then I thought, well, might get canceled. So in the morning, you will have some grant funding in your mailbox. But we do help you. We do like to partner with you. We appreciate all the help you give us to do all the programming that we do, and we really are making a difference in Witham Bland County.
We really do appreciate your efforts. As she alluded to, as Dr. Catherine said, I asked the question, not quite as uninformed as that question might lead, but if you stop and look at it from the other way and you don't know what the foundation does, and you see some of the works and you think that, you know, $14 million has been given away. There's got to be a hole in the bucket somewhere. It must be running out of money. And that was the reason for that question. Obviously, they're very good stewards of what they've got. I also shared with Dr. Catron that I've been fortunate enough for several years now to attend the college luncheon where they recognize all the recipients. I minister a couple of states that have scholarships to WCC, so that's the role in which I appear. But I've personally witnessed some of the stories of the folks who have benefited from that. And when you talk about tracking the data, I can imagine how hard it would be, but I bet I've heard a dozen speeches where student A got the scholarship money and went to school having thought there's absolutely no possibility I'd ever be able to get a college education. But because student did it, several other members in the student's family were able to keep a job or not have to work 2 jobs or somehow could keep their family together. And even a couple of the folks that I remember speaking, some of the other family members, because they didn't have to spend the money for their kid to go to schools, the parents have gone and taken some classes to benefit themselves too. So the fallout and the wealth is spread much, much broader than just the one college foundation grant recipient. It really has touched an awful lot of lives. We're grateful for that. I know I speak for all 3 government bodies when we say we appreciate the funding that you've made available to accomplish some of the tasks that we were trying to get done. So thank you, and thank the foundation as we are here. And the ones who aren't here, please reiterate our gratitude. And to me, it's a evidence of the job well done. We appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll be back. We will look at this data and keep collecting it. Now, the nonprofits aren't real excited when we ask them to collect this data, but we think it's important to know what we've done. Yes?
I do have a question.
Okay.
All those organizations, people that do receive the money, is some of it paid back yearly, do these organizations, are they required to pay back a percentage of the money that they're given?
You mean the nonprofits? No, they're not required to pay back. Some of them are required to match some of the money, but they don't pay it back. But they do have to give us back reports. They have to collect data so that you will know. One of the things that I heard from the foundation board, and that was really important to me when we first started, is we wanted to know what we had done. We want to know 20 years out, it's already been 7 or 30 years out, that we made a difference, that we just didn't give money away randomly and had nothing to show for it. And after a couple of years, I hired a consultant to write a report for us, and that's in here. And Barbie Dunn told me, she said, there aren't measurable objectives in these things. We can't measure all of them. So we hired a consultant, Dr. Janet McDaniel, who actually works with the nonprofits to help them write the grant, write the outcome objectives, and then make sure that they're tracking them to be on time to finish the grant.
That's a good question, Peggy, that having heard some of the things before, I can elaborate a little bit on what Dr. Catron said, is that they're grants, they're not loans, so they're not paid back. But as she said, they leverage their money so that, they're rarely 100% of the funding. They've got another part to it or 2 or 3 pieces to it. But as far as I've been given to understand, the outcome benchmarks that are used to measure this is very rare. Not many people are tracking. And when she's talking about people not being so glad to furnish data, it's because most people just take the money and run. And in these grants, you have to take the money and then run back and say what you did with it, whether you hit the target. So there's a lot of accountability built into the process.
That's true. In the foundation world, it's very rare that you have somebody work on outcomes. In fact, I'm giving a talk next week to a group of Virginia nonprofits who don't do this kind of thing, and they want to know how we did it. So we're leading the way.
Well, you're leading the way in lots of things. The college scholarship has been mimicked a time or 2 across the state. It was the first one anybody had ever heard of, and so they're tracking that. But you're right that the outcome measuring and accountability piece to it is beginning to attract a lot of attention, being mimicked in other places as well.
That's true. There's a nice story here about a student from WCC that we learned this past year whose family had no idea that they could send her to college. And she talks about now she's going off to a 4-year school. It's a nice story.
It's really opened doors for a lot of folks. Thank you. Anything else, any questions or comments for Gail?
Can we ask one from back here? I got one question.
Yes, ma'am, Annie B. Glad to have you here. Thank you.
That only 12,603 went on to a 4-year college.
not sure that's not true. I would lay money that it's a lot higher, just having been at W16 for several years. But we don't have the data to back it up yet, so we can't say that for sure. This is hard data that we actually have in the file.
The other piece to that I think kind of colors that number, I know of at least 4 who went on to a 4-year institution, but not a full-time 18 credit hour semester. So it'll take them longer than 2 more years to get a 4-year degree, and therefore they haven't yet graduated, although they're moving in that direction. So I think that number's not like, there's an awful lot of these recipients, and again, having met them at the luncheons, that could not afford to move into a dormitory in an away place and take 2 more years consecutively. It takes a little longer than that because they're commuting or juggling class, not taking a full load all at once.
Mayor, do you have anything to add? No?
Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Glad to hear about it. And Amy, I missed you when I was going through. I appreciate your being here tonight, too. I know you got enough meetings to come to, so we're glad that you're with us tonight. Appreciate it. Dr. Hawthorne, I believe you were the next on our list of people we're going to speak tonight, so we're glad to have you here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's always a pleasure to come and share with you folks. What I'd like to start out with tonight is introduction of our Associate Director, Kimber Simmons. That's been with us for several months now. She was formerly with Virginia Economic Bridge. She had a lot of connections and interactions across the Commonwealth, but also concentrated here in Southwest Virginia. She is a graduate of Radford University. She wears many hats in her role as our Associate Director, but just a few umbrella type things is she's heavily involved with our program implementation, especially with lead role in the existing industry program. She's responsible for research and database maintenance. She's heavily involved with our communications, including both reports and newsletter preparation. And then the ubiquitous item that we're all familiar with, such other tasks as may be needed. And she covers a lot of those as well. So I'd like to introduce Kimber and let her say a word or two to you.
Glad to have you here, Kimber. When I was asking, are you feeling better the other day when I ran into you, were not feeling so well.
Thank you very much for having me here. And just a few little things. I am privileged to work with the companies in Wood County. And while I am not a resident of the county, I live just over the hill in the town of Pulaski. I grew up here. I'm a graduate of Fortsville High School, and about 75% of my family lives in the county, some in the town of Woodville, actually born in the town of Retreat, and all throughout the county. So it is dear to my heart, this area, and has always been dear to my heart. But one of the things Dr. Hawthorne was mentioning is I am privileged to work with communications and a little bit of marketing, not just of our organization or of the area, but sometimes of the companies themselves. Later this week, hopefully there will be a press release out, just so you know that one of our companies, Evitran, was recognized Thursday by the Southwestern Virginia Technology Council as Innovation and Entrepreneur Company of the Year. So, and I like to think that I was had a little hand in that because I have a really good connection with that council. So they haven't in the past been reaching kind of as far east as Wood County, even though it's in their area. So I want to change it a little bit. The technology councils are very active at the state level, and it gives a little recognition to our companies around the state. And anyone that has any questions about my background, feel free, or anything else.
Well, that's an open-ended question. Anything you want to know about Ms. Simmons, now's your chance.
Thank you very much.
Glad to have you on board. If you can keep Alan under control, you're doing a heck of a job, so thank you.
She caught you off guard with that one, did she?
I thought about it. I thought better of it.
All right. I want to touch on a few other things this evening. I wanted to give you an update on our large Lot 24 grading project that's been going on for about 3 years now. Our goal was to have that completed this year, and after experiencing some delays in getting our Army Corps of Engineers environmental permits in place last summer, which made that go a little slower than what we hoped. We were all set to have very efficient this year, but although we didn't have an exceptionally high amount of rain, it was scattered out such that it really did impact our ability to do grading. And so we did not get quite as much as what we wanted to have accomplished this year. As of now, we're about 82% of completion on the project grading. So come next spring, we'll have about 15% of the remaining project to complete with the grading and seeding of the site. Associated with the site construction, there is some excess fill material on Lot 24. We were fortunate earlier this month to receive a $150,000 Tobacco Commission grant, which will help us transfer some of that fill material over to Lot 30 across the street south of the Lot 24 project, and prepare a building pad on that site in expectation of a future building site there. Some information on marketing developments with respect to Lot 24. We kind of start at the top down. Virginia Economic Development Partnership, which is the key state organization that provides marketing activities, is under the leadership of President Martin Briley. Now he's been there just about 1 year. One of the significant activities he undertook during his first year was a very extensive assessment of the organization's capabilities and marketing efforts, and just really what it needed to do and how it could get there, and how the personnel were lined up to do that. They had an external consultant who did some pretty extensive evaluation and research of their situation and benchmarking to other states. Those results were in the summer, and one of the recommendations is they really needed to focus more strongly and more tightly their efforts towards recruiting new facilities to fill that pipeline of potential projects that the localities could try to match up properties and assets for. The real recommendation of the most significant piece of that was that there would be the formation of a new recruitment division. It was announced at the Virginia Economic Developers Association earlier this month that they have completed the result of a fairly extensive search for leadership of the organization, that new division, both external to VEDP and internal to VEDP. And the new vice president of VEDP, who will head that division, was an internal person. Mike Limcooler, who is very familiar with Wood County and Progress Park. Most immediately prior to that position, he was heading a strategic initiative looking to target a half a dozen key strategic properties for the Commonwealth, one of which was the Lot 24 project in Progress Park. Prior to that, he had been team leader for transportation marketing team when that was in place, and prior to that, one of the senior project manager position. I think we're very fortunate that he'll be heading that organization because we are particularly well positioned with him and his knowledge of the properties that we have to offer. I'll let my hand out for pass it down. One of the initial things that they've undertaken is to kind of revamp some of their marketing material. And this is the first piece that's come out of that new revamp area. As Mr. Jim who reminded me that shows the priority we place on Lot 24 within the organization. So this is the first piece that's come out of the organization, and it's just now hitting the street. It, of course, highlights the characteristics of Virginia, but then hones in on specifically Progress Park and the Lot 24 mega project site in the Commonwealth, or in the county. So that's one of the things that's going on that's a particularly useful product of the new activities. Another activity that's underway, and we'll be seeing some products from very soon, is an effort by AEP to prepare some marketing materials for large data center sites within their footprint. And those analysis results have been completed, and materials are being prepared. And as we anticipated would be the case, Progress Park is right at the top of the list of candidate data center sites within the Apico service area. In terms of project activity, as we are approaching having Lot 24 available for large projects, there are a couple of very large projects that, on just a preliminary look, we really haven't made it to the stage of getting active with those yet, but that's underway. We're also been involved with a large distribution project that's been looking at the Southwest Virginia area. And then we have some other preliminary inquiries associated with warehousing and distribution activities within the area. One of the things that continues to be a bit of a challenge for us is the residual impacts of the Great Recession. And that is that there were a pretty significant number of properties, buildings available from facilities that have closed. Many of those are good quality facilities, and there's still some of those available, often at very attractive prices. So for projects that are kind of in the mid-size range that can fit into existing buildings, we're not in a very strong competitive position when we're talking about greenfield construction relative to those. That inventory is being worked down. Just today I was reading some projections that felt like by early to late spring of next year that inventory would pretty much be going away. And this was a particular builder that was writing the commentary and felt like it would be time to start building some of those new buildings for that 100,000 type square feet type projects. So we hope to see the economy really strengthen and pick up on that. As I'm sure all of you all know, there are some remaining headwinds out there, whether it's the fiscal cliff and the uncertainty here within the U.S. and also some waiting of what's going to happen with elections. But there's also the global headwinds of seems like the perpetual challenge of what's going on with Europe and the Eurozone, and also with China's somewhat slowing from an extremely fast pace to what by most country standards would still be a very fast pace, but it's slower than they have been. All of those things would be hoped to come to somewhat of a fruition during this year, but you never know. It's tough for that crystal ball to know exactly how it's going to play out. So that's a bit of a briefing, particularly relative to Progress Park, but also to some of the other activities.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments for Dr. Hoffman? Thank you, sir. Appreciate the information. The Progress Park brochure is pretty slick publication. I look forward to reading that. Anybody else who would like to speak during our citizens' time? We didn't see you on the sign-up sheet, but we're glad to have you here and appreciate your attending. If you want to speak, we'll be glad to hear from you. Any of the elected officials have any other additional comments or concerns? Yes, sir.
One of the things I've noted with some concern is the condition of our courthouse and its toilet and the clock. Are there any plans to repair that and get it back into operation?
probably aimed at Gary Haslam since he had the microphone, I'm looking at the left.
It worked as far as I know. It hasn't been illuminated. Is it running now?
It has. Last one I left work was 5 minutes.
So it's working but not illuminated, is what we're guessing.
I assume that the spotlights that we put up a few years ago are burned out. When it gets dry enough, we'll get up there and look.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? If not, then I'll declare us adjourned, but I ask that you keep in your prayers and thoughts. I know we have several first responders with us tonight, and next 24 to 48 hours sounds like it's going to be a challenge for all of us. Fortunately, we're better off than some of our northern neighbors, but just for reflection reasons, I heard on the radio coming in here that Tazewell was reporting 5 inches of snow on the ground, so it's not so far away. We've been pretty lucky so far, but we appreciate all the efforts our first responders do, and anything we can do to help one another, we'll feel free to do that. So everybody be safe over the storm event that we're experiencing. Thank you all, and remind you there's a big football game Friday night between 2 of the county schools that are playing for the Hope East District Championship, so probably gonna have to go early to get well, I won't make a prediction yet. Obviously, I think George Witt is gonna win, but I think we'll get off. We'll wait to see what you do on the Big Skin for not skaters. Well, we haven't had a challenge yet because the mayor's contemplating.
This was a joint meeting of the governing bodies, the town of Withville, Wythe County, and Rural Retreat, Monday, October 29th.